There is an epidemic sweeping across America right now.
The growing legal phenomenon of sports betting.
As long as you're not Tom Brady, you're in.
Come on.
Now you have a rapid growth in prediction markets.
Will egg prices go up this month?
I think we'll hit $20.
What we are witnessing is the mass numbers of kids getting into gambling on their phones.
Online gambling is spreading faster than ever. And what's driving this is billionaires.
Every online casino in the world, the owners have reached out to me. I've spoken to the owner. Like, he straight up hit me up, like, let's make a deal. The highest I ever was offered was $4 million a month.
They're doing it openly and aggressively, creating a new generation of addicts that they know is going to lose all their money.
Using credit card deposits to play on online slots and digging myself into an incredible amount of debt. I've never felt lower.
So I downloaded all the major gambling apps to see just how bad it's gotten. And within minutes, I understood why this is going to get really bad. This whole industry is basically a reverse Robin Hood, taking what little money we have left and redistributing it upward. This epidemic isn't killing people the same way opioids did, but the destruction is just as real.
When I was in the teeth of it, it's all that mattered. My marriage didn't matter. My job didn't matter. My daughters didn't matter.
And it's not just the online casinos fueling this trend. It's the media companies, sports leagues, Wall Street, influencers, all pushing gambling into every part of daily life to the point that it's unavoidable. So today, I'm going to show you how billionaires built their own personal casinos, how they convince normal people like you and me to play, how the system is designed for us to lose, and how they're going to get away with it. All right, let's see what this hype is about. The first time I heard about sports gambling wasn't from an ad or a news story. It was in 2016 when I worked at an ad agency that had FanDuel as a client. And their whole directive to us was basically make as many ads as possible, as fast as possible. At the time, FanDuel only let you bet on fantasy sports. You know, the thing the boys get into once a year to draft their own personal teams in their favorite sports franchise. Before FanDuel, you were doing fantasy sports for bragging rights, a friendly wager to keep the sports season interesting. So let's see how FanDuel works. Okay, turns out there's two apps now. Sportsbook, which has all sorts of sports gambling and a casino, and Fantasy, which is the OG. Okay, I cannot get Sportsbook to work because in California, where I'm from, online gambling is still illegal. But I can use FanDuel Fantasy. Just to be clear, I don't know ball, so I'm flying blind here.
I'm just gonna fucking rip this. So I put in $9 and I can win $12,000. That's what they're trying to say, right?
Y'all looking at me like, all right, we'll come back to this when the game is over. But the gambling floodgates really opened in 2020 when the Supreme Court overturned the federal ban on sports betting. So states across the US started legalizing gambling. And they all have their reasons.
Money!
Today, sports betting is legal in 38 states. Americans collectively bet $150 billion on sports last year, netting these companies $13 billion. And today, it seems you can bet on anything at all. Sports betting apps like FanDuel and DraftKings took the Silicon Valley ethos of ask for forgiveness, not permission, and applied it to gambling. They expanded from just fantasy sports to actual sports books, like those you'd find in Vegas. By the way, that FanDuel bet did not hit. And the moment sports betting took off, everyone wanted in. Dozens of competing sports betting apps launched. Then online casinos came on the scene, essentially putting Vegas inside your pocket, tethered to your bank account, ready to ruin lives on a whim, even in states where online gambling is technically illegal. Let's look at Stake, an online casino that I learned about from influencers.
Enough of the staples. What are you, some sort of gambling addict? Am I a gambling addict? Yeah, I'm addicted to being signed to the biggest gambling company in the world, literally.
Okay, again, I'm in California where online gambling is currently illegal, but Stake bills itself as a sweepstakes app, not a casino. So I guess it was okay for a while. But when I went to make an account, they said I couldn't because of upcoming restrictions.
Yeah, fuck this place. Goddamn liberal fucks.
I mean, look what I'm missing out on. This is basically a digital Vegas casino. You've got poker, blackjack, slots, and I'm just waiting for the lady to come up to me and offer me a free drink. Since I can't use Stake at the moment, I heard Chumba is a good alternative. Let's try that. This is awesome. I wish I could show the music, but this GTA-style slot machine is hilarious. If parlays or casinos aren't for you, there's Kalshi. Kalshi is interesting because it technically isn't gambling either. It's a prediction market, and it's classified as a federally regulated financial exchange. They're considered a stock exchange like the NYSE, which is already a red flag, but let's try it. Holy moly. You can bet on anything inside this app. Bitcoin price today at 2 p.m., COVID new variant reported this year, best AI of the month. They even have a trending page. Okay, let's do this one. The Denver-Minnesota NBA game. Denver currently isn't favored to win, so I'll pick them. If I put in 10, I'll get 10. All right, we're locked in. It seems no matter where you are, you could bet on whatever you want, however you want, whether gambling is legal in your state or not. Look, this might be a hot take, but Vegas is not dying because it's expensive. It's dying because no one has to travel all the way there to lose their money. So Vegas has to make up for it somewhere else. So how did we go from gambling is gross to let me rip a bet from the toilet in just a few years? Online gambling being legal and accessible allows it to be widespread. But it's the vibes that really kicks it into gear. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, the vibe was that gambling is for degenerates and addicts.
We lost our home, our kids' college fund, our retirement money, all because our son gambled on the internet. I said I was sorry.
Go to your box.
In 1991, sports commissioners for the NBA, NFL, and MLB all testified to Congress to stop state-sanctioned gambling. David Stern, the NBA commissioner at the time, said sports betting places athletes and games under a cloud of suspicion, and how they've done a complete 180. After losing a legal challenge that would have kept sports betting banned, all the sports leagues changed their tune. Not because society changed, not because gambling got safer, but because the leagues realized how much money they could make. In 2014, the current NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, wrote an op-ed in the New York Times calling for the legalization of sports betting. The NFL, which refused to host the Super Bowl in Las Vegas for decades because gambling, hosted the Super Bowl there last year for the first time ever. The sports leagues also started partnering with FanDuel, DraftKings, and the like to promote gambling during sports. NBC Sports was actually an early investor in FanDuel. Fox Sports paid $150 million for a stake in DraftKings in 2015. And this is the moment that gambling stopped being hush-hush and became mainstream content. You can't get through sports today without seeing gambling ads, odds widgets, and sponsored gambling content.
It's time for Stephen A's Weekly Picks. If you're a sports fanatic like me, then you can't just watch the games. You need to be a part of it all. So how do I do that? I play Prize Picks, of course.
Thanks, Stephen A. Smith. Let me rip a bet with Prize Picks. Seeing all of this gambling success, the finance bros now want a piece of the action. They rebranded gambling into prediction markets. A16, a venture capital firm and early investor in tech companies like Airbnb and Slack, invested $300 million into Kalshi. The parent company of the New York Stock Exchange is investing $2 billion into prediction market Polymarket. And these investments not only inject the platforms with a ton of cash, they also lend an air of credibility. They're telling you gambling is basically investing. The same way doctors were like opioids are non-addictive.
In fact, the rate of addiction amongst pain patients who are treated by doctors is much less than 1%.
The people we're trusting with our investments are telling us gambling is a great investment. By the way, that Kalshi bet hit. Thank you, Denver Nuggets. I just want to get this out of the way. I don't think gambling is inherently bad. I love gambling. The thing that terrifies me is that it is unquestionably addictive.
The gambling industry says only 1% of adult Americans have a severe gambling problem.
Sure.
Less than 1% of patients taking opioids actually become addicted.
And these companies are constantly shoving it down our throats. We are primed from childhood to love a game of chance. From Pokemon cards and gachapons to Roblox and Counter-Strike to Instagram and Twitter. What makes online gambling worse is the reason why billionaires are funding this. Remember Uber versus Lyft, each trying to outspend the other by throwing millions of dollars to subsidize cheap rides? Now it's FanDuel versus DraftKings. It's Polymarket versus Kalshi, all competing for new users. Oh yeah, my prize pick bet did not hit. No thanks to LeBron James. From podcasters to Twitch streamers to personal finance gurus, these gambling platforms are throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at anyone with an audience. CoffeeZilla pointed out that Joe Rogan, the biggest podcaster in America, has promoted gambling apps in his last 11 out of 14 podcast episodes. XQC, the Twitch streamer, signed a deal with the smaller streaming website Kick, the company that also owns Stake, for $100 million to only stream on their platform and promote their online casino.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Okay, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, Reds, please, Reds.
And it's not just these huge mouth-watering deals. Even smaller influencers are cashing in, teaching personal finance 1 minute, nudging you to gamble the next.
A Holly market is the most accurate amongst all prediction markets. So this allows people to actually put some weight behind it and put their money where their mouth is.
And this is the real danger. When someone you trust for financial advice promotes a gambling app like an investment, you can imagine how that can go very wrong very quickly. And I'm not just singling this guy out. Robinhood, which began as a platform to democratize investing and later became the poster child of the meme stock craze, just created their own prediction market. That's right, you know what time it is. Okay, in full transparency, I'm already a Robinhood degenerate. All right, let's do this one. Who's going to win the Las Vegas F1 Grand Prix? And of course, I gotta go for the GOAT, Max Verstappen. Let's send it. Anyway, gambling is so common now that my phone's sports ticker has probability odds. We're looking at prediction markets over polls to get a gauge on where public opinion is, and it's surprisingly accurate. The news often talks about the over-under on things unrelated to gambling.
We're at 41 days now compared to the last strike in 2008, which was 54 days. If you had to set an over-under, do you think we're going above that line or below that line?
In just a few years, online gambling has changed our shared cultural lexicon. The normalization of gambling is going to wreck people's lives under the facade of entertainment and investing, ultimately decimating some percentage of people's entire bank accounts, pushing them to take predatory loans, and scaring another swath of people off of actual sound investments. And remember what David Stern told Congress about gambling back in the 90s? The legalization of online gambling has actually had the opposite effect on what we were sold on, the fact that it would be safer and regulated. Recently, the Justice Department arrested Portland Trail Blazers coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and 32 other people as part of an investigation involving using insider information for sports gambling. And Adam Silver, today's NBA commissioner, said he found it...
I was deeply disturbed. There's nothing more important to the league and its fans than the integrity of the competition.
Even though he's known about it for at least 2 years.
And Terry Rozier was allowed to keep playing after an NBA investigation ruled that there was no NBA rules violated.
The MLB is no different. Cleveland Guardians pitchers Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase were both recently indicted for allegedly conspiring with gamblers. And these examples are only a few that we know about. Rigging games and trading insider information is way more widespread today because there's more money in it than ever. David Stern prophetically spelled this out more than 30 years ago. Whether or not players or coaches are involved in game fixing, they're now always under that suspicion. And while Trump's Justice Department seems like they're taking these kinds of allegations seriously, I feel like it's more of a no one rips off the house kind of situation. Because earlier this year, Kalshi named Donald Trump Jr. as a strategic advisor, which you can imagine comes with a few benefits. Then in August, Polymarket announced that it was taking an investment from Don Jr.'s VC firm, paving the way for Polymarket to become legal in the US. And in October, Trump's Truth Social platform announced that they're launching their own prediction market. The underbelly of this legalized gambling industry is wild. If you zoom out, the whole ecosystem looks exactly like a drug operation. The billionaires and the VCs are the cartel, funding the platforms, legalizing the apps, taking most of the profit. The sports leagues and media companies are the distributors, pumping out ads, normalizing gambling, and baking gambling directly into our culture. And the celebrities and influencers are the dealers, getting people hooked, one referral code at a time. Laws that previously kept gambling from getting to where it is today were never intended to protect us from ourselves. With our own government not only openly allowing this to happen, but also actively participating in it, we can expect the wild west of online gambling to get even crazier. And normal people are already reeling from this fallout. There are countless stories of online gambling addicts not only destroying their own lives, but taking their families down with them.
I started lying. I started cheating. I started betraying the people I love. I started doing everything we do as compulsive gamblers.
The money fueling this growth is the most concerning part about this. After all, if you gave me life-changing money to change my tune about online casinos, I just might. How could you say no to $100 million, or even 50, or 5?
All these online casinos saying, yo, we'll give you this money, we'll give you this money. And the money was NBA money. It was crazy.
After the fallout of the opioid epidemic, we got the Sunshine Law, designed to keep pharmaceutical companies from buying doctors' Porsches in exchange for prescribing their drugs using their ill-gotten riches. With online gambling, the massive investment and the lack of regulation are going to make this growing problem get much worse before it gets better, leaving another generation stuck with the consequences. And I'm going to lock in my last bet. Things are going to get bad, and only under extreme outrage and scrutiny will there finally come a law that half fixes the problem in the year 2033. This is all the money I lost making this video. Help me make my money back by subscribing and watching this video that YouTube thinks you'll love.